That really hurt. I bet on Apple. I was really excited for the stuff that I thought they would be announcing. They literally gave us nothing. They gave us nothing that we wanted. As in terms of hardware, there were so many leaks, so many people talking about hardware coming to this event. There was no hardware. No hardware. iPad Pro. No major. Okay, they got some updates to iOS, iPad OS, right? But no pro apps. Guys, not a single pro app. And so I want to start this by saying this is going back, guys. I'm trading it in. I'm taking it back to the store. Uh, I was so underwhelmed by this event. It boggles the mind. So let's talk about what actually happened at the event. So we got a lot of software type stuff, new Swift code, iOS. They talked about the Breathe app. They spent 15 minutes on the Breathe app. I got the live chat going, guys, so I can't see your comments. Hold on, let me make sure. Guys, yeah, so it's going back. I'm going to go ahead with a Mac Mini and a previous generation iPad. I have been wanting them to go pro with the iPad. Somebody made an interesting comment on Twitter. They said that the iPad Pro was given M1 just for economy of scale. And as much as I didn't want to believe that, after this event, a big company like Apple, they planned this stuff, okay? So when they put the M1 chip in the iPad Pro, they had plenty of time to begin developing software for it. Final Cut, DaVinci. We saw no third-party anything showcasing what the iPad Pro could do. Instead, they show us how to connect a family member to our account when we pass. That was... Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm still coming down off of this because, I've got the M1 box. I've got it all right here. I'm gonna go to the Apple Store. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. My bad. Sorry for your ears. I've got the box here, and I'm gonna go and trade it in because I'm sorry. You don't give people an M1 chip and then don't let them use it. You don't give people 8 and 16 gigabytes of RAM and not let them use it. You don't give people Thunderbolt and all these things and then have an event where nothing was really released. Okay, let's talk iMac because we thought we were gonna get iMac too, right? No. What about Mac Mini? A space gray pro level Mac Mini? Wrong again. You know, you name it, it didn't happen. So everybody who was playing bingo, every person who was playing the Apple event bingo pretty much lost. Now, Craig did run. A lot of people had that on their list. But other than that, we got almost pretty much no hardware. If I'm remembering correctly, there was no hardware in the event. Just everything OS. And I will say there were some great things for developers in terms of, Swift code. And you can use Swift on the iPad Pro M1. I'm sorry, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's great for people who are developing, but you gave this to people as more than a developer's device. You don't put an XDR display on the iPad for developers. And these are pro features. Thunderbolt is a pro feature. Now, I am kind of debating whether... No, I'm not going to get the iMac. The iMac is pretty, right? I'm about to go to the Apple Store as soon as we finish this live stream. And I'll be tweeting about my experience, too. The iMac is pretty, the 24-inch, but it's too expensive for what you're getting. I already have a 32-inch 4K display, and it's the same chip that's in the Mac Mini. Plus, the base model starting at $1299 has a 7-core GPU, where the Mac Mini has the 8-core GPU right out the box. So for that same price, I could get 16 gigs of RAM and more storage. So not going with the iMac, even though it's very pretty. But just totally blown away by the amount of nothing that we got. So here's the problem that Apple is going to have at this point. My M1 iPad Pro is at least future-proof. Here's the thing. Future-proof for what? Thank you for the comment, by the way. I'm not, my reaction is in no way meant to be mean. For what? Everybody's saying get the 2018 or 2019 iPad Pro. You're absolutely right. There's nothing that the M1 can really do that no other iPad's going to be able to do. Especially the 2018 and 2019 models. I may pick up one of those with the money. I mean, I spent $1278 on this thing. Are you kidding? $1278, and it can't do anything. It can't do anything that the 2019 and 20, I'm sorry, the 2020 and 2018 iPad Pros couldn't do. Get out of here. I'm an Apple fanboy, and come on. Now, this is what I was saying. Here's the predicament Apple's about to be in. These things have to release. You've got to make an M1X. You've got to make the iMac and the Pro model Mac Mini and that kind of stuff. You've got to make it. So now they're pushing all that toward the end of the year. Big problem here. The iPhone comes out at the end of the year. Don't you want the iPhone to have the shine that it usually gets? You have the Mac Pro and the iPhone that usually come out at the end of the year. But now you've got to do the iPhone, the iMac, the Mac Mini. I don't know about Apple Watch. I don't know what they're going to do with that kind of stuff. But, all these things now have to go toward an event toward the end. So will we be getting a September just iPhone event and then maybe November, December, probably November, a bigger Pro hardware event? People have said WWC has had hardware in the past. This isn't new. That even was said. Yeah, it was said. It's very, very, I wouldn't say disgusted, very disappointed. This was one of the, especially, and you know what? You know what I'm thinking? Because this is just off the dome. And what I'm thinking is Apple never really said to get this hype. I mean, we've been high on rumors and all the John Prossers of the world and all the leakers hyping up this event, or, giving people an idea that we would be getting a Mecca Super Bowl tech type event. I'm pretty sure that now they went on stage and they said that they had 25 million viewers last year. How much you want to bet it was even more than that this year? I bet they were pushing over 30, 32 million people watching. And it was all for nothing. Could this event have suffered from too much hype? From too many people saying too many things? I mean, we were going to get AirPods. Well, people were thinking that they were going to release the AirPods between the Spring Forward event and this new event, the WWDC. I don't even know what to call it. It was so, I'm sorry, guys. But yes, the M1 iPad Pro is going back to the store. I'm taking it back to Apple today. It was not worth it. As you guys, for those of you who are new to the channel, I've been using the M1 iPad as my only device, showing people the power that it has. Ridiculously disappointed. Yeah, absolutely. I echo that sentiment. It sucked. But I've been using the M1 iPad Pro as my daily driver for everything. Video creation, thumbnail making. I'm also a student. I also want to run a record label. And so music, all these things have to be done on one device. And honestly, I was very I'm not going to trash the iPad because it was doing the job, okay? Was it the most intuitive, easy, familiar, and flexible tool in the world? It was very close. I mean, this thing at any time could be docked as a desktop, put in a case as a laptop, or used as a tablet for note-taking. And I will get an iPad. So I'm not bashing iPad for the sake of iPad. I think it's an incredible device and you should get one. But when it comes to it being a replacement for your computer, I hope I didn't just break it because I'm returning it today. Nope, looks all good. Anyway, guys, it's a piece of junk. I mean, Final Cut, where was that? Logic Pro 10. Even if Apple didn't want to do it themselves, if they said, you know what, we'll let other developers, because they've done that before. They'll put out some crazy hardware and then they'll say, okay, do what you want with it. But no Adobe, no DaVinci from Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve. These third-party software developers didn't even come on board and show what they could do with the M1 on iPad. I know you're laughing because I got those comments. If I had broken it, it would have been crazy. And it would have been on live stream, so they would have evidence that it was due to negligence. But thankfully, it's looking fine. But yeah, right after this live stream, I'm going to back this thing up. Guys, follow me on Twitter if you want to see that journey where I'm taking it to the Apple Store and finding out what I'm going to do with it. At Chris Grant Jr. is the name on Twitter. You can follow me there. But yeah, guys, this was probably the worst WWDC that I have seen. And it's not because of what was released. It's because of what we expected. Okay? It's because of expectations. Let me see. LOL, glad I brought the 11-inch. Just needs to make beats instead of. But here's the thing: the 2018 and 2020 iPad Pros can make the beats just as fine, especially if there's no Logic. Now, if there was Logic, I was like, okay, well, if you really are into it and you're doing multiple tracks and plugins and all this stuff, you're gonna want to stick with M1. Even the 799 M1 iPad Pro is, I'm gonna say, not really worth it. And I may change my mind on that, okay? Because when I go, this is 1278. I could get a 799 or $800 M1 iPad 11-inch and still come home with a new Mac Mini too. You know what I'm saying? But this 12.9 M1 iPad Pro, the XDR display is gorgeous. But other than that, you're wasting your time, guys. You're wasting your time. I have, I've learned the iOS workflow. I've used iPad Pro before. I had the first generation, I had the second generation iPad Pro, and I had the third generation 11-inch iPad Pro, and now the fifth generation 12.9. I was really hoping for Logic, but to be fair, there is a way more advanced layout to, and there is. And here's the thing: I wasn't expecting full-blown, full-featured Logic. Okay. I've used Logic. As a producer, I use Logic all the time, or even Final Cut. And Final Cut is made to be optimized and run really well. Here's the thing, it's M1. So we know it has the power to run full-fledged Logic because Macs that have M1 run full-fledged Logic. But I know that there can be some difficulties in optimizing the user interface, etc., stuff like that, to get it working with the iPad. So I wasn't even looking for the full shibata. What's the thing? What's it called? I'm extremely disappointed in Apple. Yeah, I wasn't even expecting the whole shebang. But you could say we're now releasing Final Cut for the iPad Pro, Logic for the iPad Pro, with updates and features being added at an Apple fast pace, right? Well, are they really fast paced with this kind of stuff? No, not really. But, they could release updates and things like that, plug-in, third-party plug-in support. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Well, right now I'm using LumaFusion for video creation. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good software there. But check this out. For music production, I use an app called Aria. Okay? Aria is a full-fledged DAW. You can use third-party plugins from the App Store. You got your tracks here. You can switch between your regular track view. Doesn't that look like Logic? Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Logic. You can't tell me Apple can't do the same thing. $12 on the App Store. I'd pay 3-4 times that for Logic. I'd pay full Logic price if it was really there. I was hoping for at least limited version of Logic. Yeah, absolutely. And Final Cut, nowhere to be found. Now, thankfully, LumaFusion has come in and done something, because it would have been a crying shame if LumaFusion didn't exist. We would still have iMovie. Pretty much on the M1. I mean, you could say Adobe Rush, but are you kidding? Without LumaFusion, they would have put the M1 in this thing and we would still be using iMovie. It's ridiculous. I've never been so excited for an Apple event and then so let down. Usually at least one of these things. Like, I don't think people really understand how significant what just happened was. You're talking about multiple things rumored to be coming at this event from reliable sources. But then last second, everybody starts saying, oh, no, never mind. No new Mac, no new iMac. We saw some people saying that. I think Mark Gurman was tweeting like just minutes before the event that, no iMac. But it's no iMac, no Mac Mini, no 14-inch or 16-inch MacBook Pro. Because I know they wanted to do the XDR display, but maybe they were like, okay, let's take the XDR display. Maybe they could only get it to 14 inches with all those dimming zones. Because I know with the 32-inch Pro Display XDR, there are less dimming zones. But maybe they were like, we can only get it to a 14-inch size. So for the end of the year, we'll do the 16-inch. But no. Instead, we get neither of those devices. And again, now this is creating a problem because you're pushing all these product releases to the end of the year. And this is going to crowd out the iPhone. Let me get to comments. I truly expected a hardware event in June or July. Yeah, absolutely. Now, who knows? Apple could do some random hardware event, I guess. The comments are coming in. That would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, they could do some random hardware event. Who knows? I hope so, because this was an embarrassment. And here's the thing. Here's what. And I was talking to some of my guys, some of my friends on Twitter, tech people, and we were saying, okay, even if this was not the plan for WWDC this year, right? Even if you had no intention of bringing any of these products, if the entire world, like 30 million plus people, are waiting for some of this stuff. John Prosser said AirPods have been sitting somewhere in a closet or in a trunk somewhere for nearly a year now, months now, at least. Give the people what they want. People are waiting for it. You have it ready. Just put it out there. Even AirPods Pro, we could have said, okay, at least one of the things that were rumored got announced. Nope, they said no AirPods. Somebody decided to drive their Mac truck down the road by the studio. Anyway, one of those things would have been acceptable. But they have multiple products because they have the Mac Mini. Come on, the Mac Mini. They're working on faster versions of the M1 chip, okay? And there was so much room in the chassis of the Mac Mini M1. You're not telling me you can't tell me that they couldn't cram in an M1X with all that extra thermal space. You could have put a whole nother fan in that thing. And I've had the M1 Mac Mini. I shipped it off to get this thing. Sorry, I don't know if I'm blowing out anybody's eardrums. I'm sorry. I'm a little hyped and a little excited. But I paid twice the price for this, guys. 12.9 inch M1 iPad Pro XDR display, Thunderbolt, 256 gigs of storage. Now I have external storage and SSDs and stuff like that, and it's been fantastic. I mean, the Thunderbolt works at full speeds, and that's been one of the great things. But how can Apple tell anyone to get this device at all? It is only for the XDR display, really. And I guess, goodness, well, let me think of a use case that you would need this for. If you work on gigantic photos. I'm not even going to say videos because all we have is LumaFusion. If you work on gigantic photos, right, that you need Thunderbolt for, and the XDR display is gorgeous, then yes, get the M1 iPad. Like, that's literally the only person who could use this. They released Swift Xcode type stuff, right? You don't need an XDR display for Xcode. You just don't. It's not going to help. If you're a musician, there's no Logic, so you're pretty much stuck with GarageBand, or if you want to use like FL Studio or any of those other ones. Most people with these devices maybe come from a Mac and they're used to using stuff like Logic. Okay, but the closest thing to Logic we have is GarageBand. Get out of here, man. Let me read some comments. Love to Dream was right. Yeah, only one. But I'll tell you what, and here's the thing, and I'm not against any of the leakers and these guys, because they do an incredible job most of the time. But nearly everybody was wrong here. And I feel like when they changed their stories, because some people were changing their stories last minute, it discredits them. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you can say, oh, they're accurate, because they're saying things last minute. So they're probably just getting access to photos, or just getting, because these people are in the know and they have different contacts. And so they can get this kind of information earlier on. Not even earlier on, but last minute, like before the show starts. And, so for all the leakers and the people who, were putting this information out, they might be right on what the product's going to look like. They may be right on what the features are going to be, what the colors are going to be, blah, 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 blah. But in terms of when it came out, absolutely wrong. But I'll tell you what, maybe, just maybe, we might get a hardware event. We're going to have to get a hardware event, because you cannot have, welcome everyone, today we're releasing the iMac, the Mac Mini, AirPods, iPhone, Mac Pro, 14-inch MacBook Pro, 16-inch MacBook Pro. The list goes on and on. I wanted a 27-inch to 32-inch iMac Pro, space gray, M1X chip, 124. We were hearing all this stuff about 32, 64 cores, all this RAM, these new graphic things. Let's see, maybe Apple is waiting for more inventory in the hands of folks before updating. No, I don't think so. You know what? I'm done. I don't want to hope like that anymore, because they had all the time in the world to develop this. And I'll tell you what, WWDC has 30 million eyes on it. The best advertisement to get more of these into people's hands, right, is to show them what it can do now, to show them what iOS is capable of now. That's going to make people buy M1 iPad Pros. But they had the world's eyes, and they basically said nothing. Now, let me talk about iPad OS 15 for a second. Because iPad OS 15 did have, you can now have widgets on the desktop, and you can, have your files now on I call it a desktop. I'm going to call it the home screen. It doesn't deserve to be called the desktop because it is not a laptop replacement right now for what I need to do. For a lot of people, it definitely is. If you're doing school, I still stand by that. I've done tons of videos talking about the iPad Pro and how incredible it is for so many different things. For professional workflow replacement, not at all. I was waiting to see if the upgrade from the Air 4 was worth it. No, I'm going to say it's not worth it. If you have an iPad Air 4, the XDR display is a beauty to behold, but you know what happens? That technology tends to trickle down. So I wouldn't pay that price. I would wait until next year. XDR is something incredible to see, but it's not something you should spend all that cash on. So yeah, I don't think anybody should really be upgrading from anything after 2018. So your iPad Air 4, your M1, not M1, 2018 iPad Pro or 2020 iPad Pro, you're good to go. Guys, don't upgrade. You're going to be disappointed. I have the M1. Like I said, I've used it as my only device, my only computer, guys, since it came out. So I've done everything: school, music, video production, color grading, and really the only thing that I know that I've enjoyed every time has been the XDR display. The speakers are pretty good too, but not too much of an improvement over the last generation. But I got a 32-inch LG 4K display sitting right here. So, I mean, besides the mini LED and the contrast and stuff like that, resolution-wise, this isn't a 4K display. So, guys, I run my mouth, but I'm really at a loss for words. Because I've never seen an event blow up in Apple's face like this. Never have I seen something like that happen, where it was so shallow. So let's actually, because I do want to talk about what they did announce instead of just ranting and raving forever. So they came out and they were talking about Breathe app and Health Home Kit. One of the biggest things they tell you, how to connect your phone to your family when you pass away. Like, Apple, that's not what we came for. Have you been on Twitter? Like, have you been on the internet? I know you have. Nobody was asking, man, are you guys excited for that new feature when you pass away, man? Apple got you covered. What do we care? What do we care? Why would we care about this feature if we're gone? I mean, of course, you want to take care, and I don't want to treat this insensitively because it's not a funny thing. But when you pass away, having your family taken care of and stuff like that is great. But guys, like, that is not a feature that people were crying for. The Breathe app, it's great. And I understand for some people with, that need physical therapy or with mental disabilities or stuff like that, the Breathe app is really great. And I'm not saying they shouldn't update this stuff. What I am saying is that is not a flagship feature to be promoting at the biggest developers conference in the world. Who is doing these events? You know what it felt like to me? It felt like they wanted to take up and oh my gosh, and this frustrates me even more. You took 2 hours for this. It's almost like they heard people, clamoring for this event. And they said, oh boy, we got to give them something good. Let's make it 2 hours. Oh yeah, Tim, Craig, like, it's 2 hours, but we actually don't have anything to talk about. Oh yeah, but the people want it, man. The hype for WDC is at an all-time high, right? We got to give them something. So they said, okay, we've been working on Breathe. Yeah, give them that. And what to do when you pass away. Like, let's give them that. We can take 10 minutes for both of those. Hey, that's 20 minutes. That's what, a tenth of the show. Right? Ugh. Maybe my math is a little off. No, sounds right. No, it's not a tenth of the show. I feel like they were just trying to fill time with a lot of things. They also talked about maps, and maps looks pretty cool. I will say, they have some new 3D features. You can literally go in a city and do like this with your phone, and it will AR give you directions, which is pretty cool. It's not anything new, like groundbreaking, but it's a nice feature to have on Apple Maps. Okay. I used to ride the T station like in school. I was in Boston. Let's see. Running iPad Pro, blah, 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 blah. It sucks. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that sentiment. But yeah, I used to, in school, I had to take the bus and I had to take the train and all that stuff. So all the new transit stuff they have is pretty cool, I'll say. But guys, this event, what is this event? So I'm going to be documenting my whole reaction from this. Me selling my M1 iPad right after we get off this live stream. What I get to replace it. How I use that in my daily workflow. So of course you guys know to hit the sub button, do the YouTube stuff. Like it if you like it, sub if you love it, click the bell so you don't miss when I drop those things. But WWDC was very disappointing, and I think most people they share that sentiment. Now, I was on Twitter with the MKBHDs and the, iJustines and Luke Miani and all those guys, watching, reacting, Sam Cole, all these guys seeing, and just, I'm talking fever pitch at the beginning, and just like the whole energy of the show went down. Production was great, and I think Craig did play into, because listen, I want to give a balanced reaction. Craig did play into a lot of the memes and a lot of the jokes, and he was running, and that was on a lot of people's bingo cards, and he drove the car, and the teleporting Apple Watch thing I thought was pretty funny. But guys, this was not what we asked for. This was not what we expected. This was not what we wanted. This could have been the Spring Forward event. You telling me they didn't have some of this stuff earlier? And I know it's WWDC, so that's when they announce all the software stuff. But what a bummer for software, guys. In terms of, and here's the thing. Everybody said Mac OS was going to be a dud. Okay? They said it wasn't going to do much. I did like the being able to move your mouse from iPad screen to Mac screen to another Mac screen. That was cool. But guys, other than that, Mac OS was a dud. iOS was a bigger dud. iPad OS had some changes, but it was still disappointing. I wouldn't call it a dud because it did have some interesting things. Like with the new multitasking. I think that's interesting, but I was hoping for 4-way multitasking. Sometimes I'm doing, and I did a video on this, sometimes I'm editing a video on the iPad and I go to make a thumbnail. And so I'll do split screen, and while the video's rendering out, I can go ahead and work on the thumbnail, right? Instead of waiting for it or blah, blah, blah in LumaFusion, mind you, because you ain't got no Final Cut. Anyway, sorry. But I was hoping that we could do 4 things at once so that I could check the status of the video on YouTube while rendering it out in LumaFusion while editing a thumbnail. And then maybe something else, like tweeting that I'm uploading a video on Twitter. By the way, guys, once again, follow me at Chris Grant Jr. to continue the conversation. I'll be on there pretty much all day. I don't get much sleep. But yeah, so I was hoping for at least 4-way multitasking. Didn't really get that. We still have kind of the same 2-way multitasking. Luke Miani actually retweeted a tweet from somebody, I'm forgetting their name, talking about 3-way split screen. 3 is 6, sorry, math's off. 3-way split screen, okay, on the iPad Pro, and that didn't even happen. You got the card slide over and split screen. Get out of here, man. Guys, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm gonna make a more calm down thing, but I feel like I'm only gonna say worse and worse things the more I talk about this, because I'm thinking, oh man, now I gotta erase the video. I mean, I gotta erase the iPad. I gotta, take it to the, like, this is not what I wanted to do. I was so excited for this event. Weeks waiting, more than that, obviously, for this event. Got the popcorn ready. Got it loaded up on the TV, right? Had the surround sound, and you can tell you're a nerd. I had surround sound on for this event. Disappointing. Let me see some of you guys' comments, because I don't want to, maybe you guys can. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel here? Unless you have a VPN. Now, there was some VPN stuff that was pretty cool. Apple definitely cracked down on privacy. And listen, if there was one thing that could make all of this kind of worth it, Apple has been doing some incredible stuff with privacy. That's been a big concern for a lot of people, especially with the Facebooks of the world and stuff. Um, I'm going to write some hate mail to Tim Cook. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't do anything. Apple's so big, they're going to do what they want. I mean, it takes a lot in order to get them to do anything. Yeah, iPad 11-inch M1, I don't really think is worth it unless you're doing serious stuff. When is iPad OS available? Now, that was something that was interesting because they didn't really say, now, did they? I would imagine it would be available to developers today and somewhere else on YouTube. Some other people will probably talk about that. When it does release, I'll be trying it as a beta user. So I'll check it out on my iPhone, not my iPad, because this is going back to the Apple Store today. I actually need to find out when the Apple Store closes because it's already 3:25. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do, all the YouTube stuff. I will be chatting it up with you guys in the comments, so continue to give me comments, and I will respond to all of them once I get off. Plus, hit at Chris Grant Jr. on Twitter. We can continue the conversation over there. WWDC, man, a lousy event that did not satisfy. That's all I have right now. This M1 iPad Pro is getting erased and going right into the box. Not what I wanted to be doing today. I wanted to be editing so much coverage. You know, that's what I wanted to be doing. Coverage of WWDC and showing you what we can now do on the iPad Pro. And, you know, man, lousy. Anyway, thanks guys so much for watching. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show.